Welcome to Viva La Visionary, the podcast that celebrates the innovative ideas and mindsets of entrepreneurs and visionaries. Join your host, Coach Bob Schittefeld, as he dives into inspiring stories and practical insights from trailblazers who are changing the game. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned leader, this show is your source for motivation and creativity. Let's embark on this exciting journey together.
Hi there, Coach Bob here, founder of the Visionary Forum and host of Viva La Visionary, our podcast celebrating and elevating visionaries, and very excited to have my good friend, president and integrator of EOS. Good morning, Kelly Knight. How are you?
Good morning, Bob, my good friend. Great to be with you today.
This is fun. I've been wanting to do podcasts for years. As you know, I like to talk, and I'll occasionally say something worthwhile and have great conversations with people. So now we're actually recording it. So you were one of the first people on my list to get a hold of. So glad to hang out with you for a bit.
This is perfect. I mean, you and I, when we go to lunch, we could talk forever, right? So I'm pretty sure we can fill 30 minutes really quick.
Right. No, awesome. It's an interesting side note. When EOS was searching for a new visionary after, so it was Gino and then Peyton and then searching for someone else. I know I'm unemployable and didn't want to work for anyone, but I literally threw my hat in the ring, A, because I believe so much in EOS, but B, because you were the integrator. And to have that perfect match is amazing. So just a compliment to you and how much I think of you as a partner and integrator.
Oh, thank you, Bob. Well, I would be honored to be your business partner at some point in the future. You never know.
You never know. So, all right. Well, welcome. So this is our whole thing with the Visionary Forum. It's Visionaries Unleashing Visionaries, a community for visionaries to belong, transform, and serve their purpose. And EOS is so amazing. So for me, the journey that I've experienced for myself and other visionaries is we love that call to adventure, as Joseph Campbell talks about, and we start a business and we see a problem, solve it, sell it, and then we have to do it. And so we hit that ceiling of complexity, which many of us do, and then to put a process in place is huge. And so, but often when we do that and we start to get the right people and the right processes, the visionary often feels a little bit left out or put out to pasture, which is not because of EOS, but a lot of times it's just like, well, what do I do now? So I've been coaching visionaries for 30 years and being a visionary as well, and still am a visionary, just realizing, okay, so what is my role as a visionary and who am I supposed to be and do I get in the way or not? So how would you describe what is the role of the visionary in your opinion?
Yeah, well, first of all, there are so many flavors of visionaries, right? But there are some very common themes amongst visionaries.
Right.
Visionaries are big idea, big strategy, big relationships,
Right.
just big thinking generally. Many visionaries like to tinker in the workshop, right? They're pulling levers and they're looking at what's happening in the world, the dangers, the opportunities and strengths of check writers, and looking to see what's going to make people smile, as Gino Wickman would always do. Or if they don't, then we don't continue doing that. So I love that tinkering of the workshop component to some visionaries. Of course, a big part of it is culture. They're great at igniting people towards a common goal, towards a common vision, and getting everybody excited about it and channeled around it. It's a very unique gift. And just generally, they're the North Star. They set the direction of where we're going and how we're going to get there as part of the integrators role. But it's just magical. I mean, visionaries change the world.
So of course I get the perfect answer from the president of EOS. So a couple things, and I love asking people to get a lot of the same vicinity of the answer, but I love the different words. And when you say tinker and make people smile, those are two things that I haven't heard, which are so perfect because we do like to tinker and try stuff. Now, sometimes we try stuff and blow up our companies. That's where we need the process in place. And to make people smile and to have fun, that's one of the biggest things I've realized, that sometimes when we either feel over processed or we get caught in the weeds or we haven't let go of the vine and delegated and elevated and trusting people, it just isn't fun. And so that's one of the things that I work with people and remind myself that, when we are tinkering and making people smile and helping people, that is what we're all about. And that to me is the culture and the energy and the vibe. So I love tinkering, making them smile and everything else you said. That's awesome. So what can we do to get the most of our integrators, in your opinion? So it's a tough match. It's a style thing. It's got to be the right fit. It's got to be that partnership, the missing puzzle piece. So what can we as visionaries do to get the most out of our integrators in that relationship?
Yeah, so great. I mean, it sort of depends, Bob, if you're looking for an integrator, you already have an integrator, or you want to improve the relationship
Right,
or the results that you have with your integrator.
right,
But what I would say is one of the biggest themes, I'm in strategic coach and I have this glorious opportunity to be with entrepreneurs, founders, visionaries all the time.
right.
And one of the things we spend a lot of time talking about is slowing down. So when you've got a Colby, sometimes that for those that know Colby, there's the different facets of that.
I'm
And
a
there's
9. Yeah.
you're a 9. My business partner, Mark O'Donnell, is a 10. And so that quick start component, okay, the quick start component is really important. Integrators need to match, be that perfect puzzle piece and have that kind of that frequency to match those that have the high quick start visionary. But what I encourage visionary entrepreneurs to do is to slow down with their integrator. Okay. Because while we need to match you, at first, we have to get that foundation laid. Part of
Right.
that is trust building. Part of that is really getting to know one another really well. What is the inner thinking of Bob Schenefeld? Right? Like,
Uh-oh.
who are you? I know it's a great journey experience to go through that with you, Bob. It's to know you really at your heart. What are your passions? What are your fears? What are your dangers, opportunities, and strengths? And
Right.
get to know you far deeper than the surface level that might appear on a VTO, right? So I would say slowing down and also taking the time to get to know your integrator equally as well, that same way
Right.
too. And also to slow down and talk about the history of the organization, the history, the philosophies, the deep-seated beliefs, and why you feel that way. Because if that foundation gets set really, really well, then the integrator has all of the context setting to be able to understand, okay, now when Bob wants to do that, I totally get why, because this has been the history. This is why things are the way that they are.
Right.
So I think that is probably number one, the most important thing to do. And then beyond that is to maintain regular same page meetings. This is, of
Yeah.
course, part of EOS teaching is that meeting pulse, that keeping the
Right.
circles connected over time. You don't want there to be a gap. That really is the integrator's responsibility, but we have to have good cooperation on both sides. We
Right.
have to be available and not make anything more important than those same page meetings. So those would be two biggies that I would offer.
I love that. And in general, as you know, I've been coaching visionaries for 30 years. And the biggest thing for me and the people I'm coaching for visionaries is to slow down, and not only with the integrator, but in life. Because I'm often future based, and that is great to look at the future, but then I'm maybe not present and slowing down, not only for my integrator, but for myself and for my heart. Slow down. So that's a couple great things. I love that. What is one thing you could share, either that you've experienced or with the visionaries? Because I know you've worked with 2 or 3 great visionaries. I know your dad was a visionary. What's one piece of advice or experience share you would say, in addition to slowing down, that you've seen, witnessed, that can really shift a visionary's success, and not just in business, but in being a visionary?
Well, as an integrator, it's really important to honor. I think sometimes something is missing with integrators where at first you're not really honoring the unique ability and the God given talent of the
Right.
visionary.
Hmm.
And so I would say for visionaries and integrators, it's really important to honor and respect each other's gifts. And it's in that shared experience of really being that kind of relationship. And that doesn't happen right off the bat. I get that. It can take time.
Right.
But I think that's where you just get the most out of that relationship and out of a visionary's gift. So if you can
Right.
sit and hold space for a visionary and honor and appreciate and acknowledge those gifts and then shape it together, right? You're shaping an idea.
Right.
Sometimes you can't do everything, but you can shape an idea. And I think what happens is too often we shut down visionaries in their gift and their unique ability because the integrator can be so focused on execution and results.
Right.
And those are important too. But I would say visionaries, if you can just work to get that great relationship with your integrator and encourage the ability to sit and have great conversations so that we can know your unique ability. And then integrators, you need to match that visionary, right?
Right.
You got to really believe in who they are, what the organization's purpose, cause, or passion is, and help to fulfill that. That's what we do. We help to fulfill the visionaries' ideas. So I would say it's this cooperative component, Bob, that is so important.
Right. Well, that's huge. And it's interesting as, I've worked with so many visionaries that, and, I know you've heard my talk on the 6 habits of a great effing visionary. And one of them is to celebrate and use and celebrate the visionary. And so a lot of times we are kind of the butt of the jokes, and, not playing the victim here, but as I've, interviewed and talked to so many, as I ask the question, people like, I haven't felt like I've fit in. And I feel like I've almost been the butt of the joke, even as a kid. There goes Bob and wandering off. He can't sit still. So even in kind of the EOS, and then not even EOS, but a leadership team meeting, there goes Bob. And so I know I've shut down in the past, and that's not the right answer, especially when it's process. And so, I've heard the word, I feel put out to pasture. And again, that's not the structure's fault. That is the opportunity for the team to say, how can we celebrate the visionary as you've been talking about? Because often I feel like I'm the problem. Oh, Bob tried something and didn't work, or, oh, there's this, or I suggest something and they're like, oh, we can't do that. And then I've often given up on some of my vision, and then everybody loses. So I appreciate the slowing down and celebrating the visionary, because if the integrator doesn't understand the role of visionary, and I've worked with many, as you know, many integrators and executive assistants. I think I've topped 30 now, so I don't know what the problem is. But if they don't understand what a visionary is in general, it's like, well, Bob, can't you just do this? Like, no, I suck at it and I hate it. I'm going to go home and go to bed if I have to do stuff that I'm terrible at. And I've also realized that as I get my head above water with the help of the team and process and an EOS, then I can start to breathe and I can help elevate the rest of my team. But if I keep allow myself to get beaten down, then I'm no good to anybody.
Well, and I've got a little unknown truth that I will drop here for you, which is, while visionaries will say that they don't need encouragement from their integrator, I think they really do. So there are times when it is really important to just, again, sit in it and encourage the thinking and the open-mindedness. And we call Mark and O'Donnell and I call it like playing ping pong or tennis. It's back and forth. We start with an idea that he might bring to the table, and we go back and forth and back and forth. And it's in that process, right? It's in the journey that we have a whole lot of fun, and it can be exciting to have that back and forth. And that back and forth is the encouragement. It's actually igniting more of the visionary to continue to fine tune their thinking as a thinking partner.
Right.
So I think really, really great integrators are thinking partners for their visionary.
I love it.
Sometimes we're the, negative Nancy or whatever. We got to come in and say no. But I think
if I'm going to go spend money, I want you to say, okay, hold on. But if we're just brainstorming, I'm sorry, go ahead. I interrupted.
No. That's right. Sometimes we are the one that's, pulling back and slowing some things down, and that can feel frustrating. But there's this other beautiful facet to the relationship too, that I think when there is that one really great idea, that we're able to really channel that and work on it together. And it's the encouragement that is important. And so, because energy is everything and mindset is everything. So we have to remember that getting our mindset right, both integrators and visionaries, and then together as the VI duo, is critical.
Right. No, I totally appreciate that. I just lost my train of thought on that. I just was thinking, I've never done a study, and I will if it hasn't been done. Do you think, so the love languages, for relationships. So there's words of affirmation, acts of service, touch, and I forget what all that, I don't remember them all. But would you say that, I think most visionaries are words of affirmation? Do you think, because when you say encouragement, when my wife or my team is like, Bob, you were awesome, or that was great, I can go bust through walls. And so do you think, are many of the visionaries, in your opinion, words of affirmation? I'll have to do a little study on this, but.
Yeah, it's great to tie it in. I do think it's words of affirmation and then just time investment. So it's being not just willing, but excited about sitting down in those moments of brainstorming. So I'd say it would be those two things.
I love that. Very cool. So what do you think, what is the biggest issue that you hear or see that visionaries are dealing with?
Well, yeah, visionary entrepreneurs in particular is what I'll speak to, but it falls in 3 different categories. One is just people issues, not getting enough out of our people, the attracting, hiring, retaining, training of great, talented, right people in the right seats people. Team members, being able to cultivate a kind of culture that mirrors what you want it to be, right? Your vision for what the culture should be. Sometimes culture is put on the back burner because it's a nice to have versus a need to have. And so I think that also enters into the equation if it's been delayed. So I'd say all things people, 82% of all issues that are faced in organizations are in some way, shape, or form tied to people issues. So that's a biggie. Another one is scaling the business. You're going from startup to scale up. It's creating those processes and repeatable systems and scalability, efficiencies amongst your people, process, data, and all of that. It can be very tricky, very hard. If you don't get the right people on board, you're going to struggle with that and hit the ceiling and feel pretty frustrated. Yeah. And then the last one that's really been emerging a lot in talking to a lot of visionaries and entrepreneurs is just sales, like getting enough at bats and then converting those at bats. They're two different issues, and both of them can be a real struggle. And depending upon what's happening in the marketplace or with competitors and things like that, it can be challenging. So I'd say those are the three that I'm seeing the most.
I appreciate that. And it's interesting because I do agree. We visionaries are often the primary rainmakers at the start of a business and up to a certain level. And then once it gets to another level, to create the right people and the right systems for sales and marketing that usually we are not great at leading. So it's the founder-led sales, I think, often is a hitting of the ceiling. So again, because I love to, again, tinker and solve problems and make people smile, I don't like to sell. And then often I'm either running sales or the visionary is running sales or a key salesperson. To me, one of the greatest things a business can do for revenue, if you have a worthwhile solution to a need out there and you have the right people in the right process, is get the visionary in the visionary seat and the visionary seat alone. But a lot of people have a hard time going there, which leads to my next question, letting go of the vine, which I know Gino and EOS has made popular on a story that makes cool. It creates vocabulary that people can all kind of lean into, but it's about letting go of the vine, especially for the visionaries to, especially if we have the people in the process, to delegate and elevate, to trust and empower. But a lot of visionaries have a hard time letting go of the vine. Why do you think visionaries either don't or have a hard time letting go of the vine?
Yeah. Well, it said, Gino has said this, that all decisions are made based out of love or fear.
Right.
So when you're not letting go of the vine, it could be a combination of, in terms of love, I love doing these things. I'm really good at it. It might just not be your highest unique ability and God-given talent. So it's still something you need to let go of, but they love it. And so they love being part of it. They love the energy that they might get from that thing. And then on the fear side is, I don't know if I can trust this person to go do it the way that I would want it to be done, or the way that it's going to work best. Are they going to get results? Are they going to tarnish my brand? Because a visionary has their own personal brand and the company's brand. There can be a risk of that. So I'd say it's born out of love or fear. It's one of the two. And you just, use issue solving to get to that root issue. And if somebody's not letting go, it also might be that they've seen evidence that the person that they've handed it to does not have the GWC, the get it, the want it, the capacity. They're just not the right people for the seat. So they get themselves inserted again into it and they pull it back, born out of sometimes legitimate concern. So it's not all for, sometimes visionaries are accused of not letting go of the vine for negative reasons or for reasons that aren't justified. Sometimes it's justified, just to say that.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I think it's a learning curve to start to let go at times with certain guardrails and whatnot. And and again, I know some people are just like, yep, I let go of mine and I moved to Colorado for 6 months. It's like, it's not abdication or just leaving. I still have a role to play in the business and to be available for my team when they need them, but just get out of the way. And you mentioned the unknown. I think that is so amazing. Jill Young is obviously fantastic implementer and former coach of all of us implementers. She came into the Visionary Forum, the Visionary Summit actually, and did a great graphic and lesson around Johari window. So, the known, unknown, blind, known, and then the unknown. and then also with delegate and elevate. And she did this amazing thing and basically flipped that panel to say, could it be that we visionaries are great at and love the unknown? And that was the first time I really heard that before. So I'm sometimes scared of the unknown, but I actually love it and I'm really good at it. So that was a huge aha for me and a lot of visionaries. But I think another reason to let go of the vine is the unknown. What am I going to do next? What's going to happen if I let go? But again, I think it's most of us visionaries, that's the thrill, you know?
Right.
Right.
And I think it invites a super conversation. I love Jill's perspective on that is
Yeah.
what is your, how do you feel about the uncertainty or the unknown?
Right.
And sometimes you might even have to break it down,
Yeah.
meaning that there's certain parts of the unknown that I'm totally good with. I can run with it. But then there's other components that have an attachment to fear. So I even think, again, it's slowing down to break down the conversation of the unknown. And it's not necessarily all or none. It could
Right.
be components that you can live with and other components you're less likely to want to live with.
So the hair standing up, you had a couple of great points there. The unknown and the fear. I love the unknown. And I'm also afraid of it and I'm attached to fear. So it's interesting. So as I'm making decisions, I'd love to try new stuff. Now, sometimes my wife may not like it or my team may not like it. And again, with guardrails, I know a lot of visionaries. I've lived through a lot of people, and myself included, that we go all in on an unknown and blow up what we have that's going pretty well. So to have some guardrails are key. But that unknown, that's interesting. It's a great question
Very,
to ask. Do you like the
very.
unknown or do you not like it?
Right. And you know what the answer is, Bob? The universal
What?
answer for some is it depends.
Right.
Again, I got to dissect it. For you, you're more like, hey, I'm totally good in the whole category of it. But it depends is becoming a more common answer to more questions in life than anything else.
Right. No, I appreciate it. And you said, like you said, there's a scale of visionaries. Gino is an amazing visionary, but he's a visionary and integrator and is intensely simple and he can actually execute on things. There's those of us who are big time visionaries who are good at a lot of things that you said, but not great at and love the execution. And then there's the wacko visionaries that can't get anything done. There's a whole scale there. So
Such
it
a
does depend.
variety.
Right.
Yeah, such a variety.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And integrators just need to match that visionary where they're at. I think it's such an interesting journey and experiment to pull back the onion and get to know that person better and better all the time.
Right. Well, I love what EOS is doing for the visionary and their business, and obviously then that helps them in their lives. And again, a lot of what I'm teaching is not just the role of visionary, which EOS has that nailed, but it's also the spirit of the visionary and not just my role in the business. I'm a visionary in life. And so I know I can be tough on people at work or I'm different and at home with my wife or my kids. And I know that your dad was a visionary. So what was it like living with a visionary and how do you think that might be different? And again, how can we as a visionary use our brilliance outside of the business?
Mm. Well, it was great growing up with my dad. I had a very close relationship with him, always did, still do
Okay.
today.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for really what he taught me. I mean, at a very early age, imagine we would sit around the kitchen table and he would have an idea. He was also an engineer by trade. So
Right.
he would mock up different designs for things that he wanted to build that we could build together. And
Oh, wow.
um, we'd be measuring and we'd be plotting it out and we'd be phasing it out. Like, here's the first step. He was probably more in the category of a Gino where he could think about the idea and plan it out.
Right.
And so that's where I really fell in love with, I think initially I didn't know it at the time, of course, but this visionary integrator running a business and building something great and enjoying the process together.
Right.
So I would say that was my first experience, with my dad. And I would say he was consistently inconsistent, but in the best way. You know what I'm saying.
Yes, I do.
So he was so consistent in terms of like his love for me and his devotion for me and my mom and our family and everything. But he was also inconsistent in that he would try new things and go outside the box and let's go do this. And hey, let's get in the car and let's go do this crazy thing. And
Right.
so I just really embraced that opportunity. And so I think it's exciting to live with visionaries. It does sometimes introduce challenges just because again, it's changing the tide of what the family had going or the idea that we had in mind. So it's kind of like it's just like anything in life, born out of, hopefully, like we hear in Lencioni's pyramid about trust.
Right.
If based on trust, you can do just about anything. You just have to slow down to talk about the plan and all of that. So anyway, so that was my experience with my dad. And he's still just a great guy and doing all kinds of fun things in life.
Well, it's been interesting, and that's such a great story. I love that. And I almost felt like either I wasn't a great dad or a great husband, first of all, because I was either worried about my business or working too hard. And as I realized what matters most, and two, as my wife put it years ago, it's like you vote with your feet. If you're not here, I know you love us, but if you're not here, then that really takes them away. And so I shifted many years ago to spend more time at home and loving it, and so glad I did it, especially now the kids are grown up, and boy, do I miss them. And they're doing wonderful. But as I got to know myself and then worked with that, not only with my team, my wife and I have spent a lot of time on that and looking at our Colbys and our working genius and suspend disbelief, but working on our astrology 4 elements. And so just, we're not going to change each other, but let's use each other and use each other's brilliance. So again, if I come in and say, we could go do this, and it's like, no, we can't. It's like, it's just an idea. And yet my wife and I have really learned that we are really good at visioning together. And then again, I'll start something, she'll come in, but as a team, it's amazing. And then with the kids, I know they used to think I was crazy, but as they got to know me, and even working with my kids on Colby and the 4 elements, and then they got to know themselves. And my daughter, who, Grace, a little bit, has an engineer mind and a rule follower. We're very different. But as we've learned about her and about me, she's like, that's why dad is the way he is. And it's been a great learning lesson, not only what EOS has done for me at work and what, Unscatter the Chatter and I Matter has done for me at home. And again, I'm a visionary in life, not just in the business. So I don't know if you have any comments on that. But.
Yeah, I really hope that visionaries can sit and acknowledge that, yes, while there might be some components that are challenging to family life, you are giving your family such a gift. Because it's a lifelong gift that being inspired in life is, in the world that we live in, is so important. And so visionaries provide that in the world. They provide solutions to big problems, the innovation, the creative thinking, again, those big ideas, big relationships. And so when you're able to grow up with that thinking, it changes the way that you are able to then go out as kids, right? We grow up, we go out into the world and the things that we're capable of doing. I credit my parents, my mom, amazing, more like an integrator, visionary dad, not surprising, Bob, right? But they gave me such a gift. And so visionaries out there who are parents, just sit in the gift that you're able to give your kids, lean in. I think you've got a great point, Bob. You must be present. So that you can give them all that you can possibly, share with those gifts.
Right. No, I love that. So here's probably not a typical question when we're talking about business, but I mean, you and I have had many deep conversations and we're both, I think, fairly spiritual. To me, the visionary is a lot about the spirit. And the way I look at that, it's to believe in a vision, believe in trust, believe in love, helping others, being present and supportive, raising our consciousness level. So any comments on that? Because I really think, when we talk about the culture, okay, great, I kind of get it. But for me, when I think of energy and the spirit, I'm like, that's what I am. And if I show up as who I am, that elevates the rest of the company. So one last point is I've had people tell me that the Visionary Forum is a bit of a faith-based organization. I'm like, oh, okay, the dogma around what that is. And I'm like, okay, we don't talk about whether it be God or religion or anything, but we do talk about, okay, because the person who said that said, but yeah, you have faith in yourself, in your vision, in people, in love. And I'm like, okay, I'll go with that. So any comments around the spirit of us visionaries, and again, what we can impart and invite people in if we slow down?
Mm-hmm. Well, and spirit means different things to different people. I know.
Absolutely.
For me, I believe in God, right?
Yep.
So that's my spiritual energy force.
Sure.
And, many of those that I work with, that's the same. But, so for me, praying on being, the light in the world is an important part. I'm just a vessel for something far greater than myself. And so I think many driven leaders, visionaries, integrators, entrepreneurs, have that grounding, that faith in something bigger than themselves. And it drives us to be better, to be more, to make a huge impact in the world. That's just been my experience. And so I just think we have to keep leaning in on that. That's how we change the world.
Right.
And I would just say that's inherent almost, I guess, Bob, to like every entrepreneur I've run into.
Right.
And I kind of know a lot of them. So I'm
Right.
grateful.
Right. Well, it's interesting because I think a lot of, not I think, a lot of visionaries that I meet have a big spiritual component and trust and belief, but they don't really trust that. So it's even trust your trust. And so even when I work with people and they're like, yeah, I really do believe and I do trust, okay, act like it. Because I do think, again, to your point about the love and the fear, it is scary to try something and it might not work and we can't make payroll, or we might let down a client or an employee. And so again, that trust and that faith, I think to double down on that and believe, to get rid of that doubt in ourselves or our doubt in our vision. Because again, there's a lot coming in at us, especially if it's words of affirmation to say, oh, we failed and whatnot. But that to me is the spirit, whatever that is for people. But I think for people to own that, that's probably been the greatest thing that I've been a part of, helping people believe in themselves. And then whether they believe in something greater than themselves, God, or whatever it might be for them, double down on that and slow down and spend time with yourself and with God or breathing or yoga or whatever it might be.
Well, and having belief is also having some confidence, and
Yep.
that's an attraction. So
Yep.
if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to either, because you can
Totally.
feel it, you can sense it. It's a palatable thing. So, yes, must believe. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have all the answers or how you're going to get where you
Right.
want to go. That's obviously a process, but it's about having faith in yourself, because what do all leaders have in common? Followers. Well, you're not
Right.
going to have very many followers if you don't genuinely believe in what we're doing, where we're going, why we're going there. So,
Right.
yes, it's so important to I love what you're doing in your forums, because you really give visionaries the opportunity. Again, it's kind of part of this slowing down, to have a day or a set of days dedicated to
Right.
long live the visionary. I mean,
Right.
we need more visionaries, and we need more visionaries who can feel great about the journey that they're on and the impact that they're making. And I think that you give them that space. And to forgive themselves for the things that they're not good at. It's okay. Let go of it. And
Right.
just,
Because we've made mistakes, but yeah, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, but to let go of it. I think that's something you do really well, is you're able to say, look, I went through this myself firsthand, real world experience. And I've been able to let go of so many things. And in exchange for letting go of the things that didn't serve me well, here's now what I can put my arms around and be better at.
Right.
And so I love that you do that, Bob. It's such a great, great compliment to EOS and what we're doing. And I'm grateful that you're in our community. A little different way today. You're not an EOS implementer anymore, but you
Right.
are still very much part of our community. And I'm grateful for that.
Well, thank you for those kind words. This is what I'm here to do and be. And again, because I am one of them. And again, I'm still, learning every day. And so it's such a gift. And again, I was nervous because being an implementer, it was a lot of fulfillment. I helped a lot of people, made good money. And yet at the end of the day, and again, I still believe in all that, but I'm here to help that visionary to forgive themselves, to believe in themselves, to slow down, to create a community where we can do that. Because again, I think this is the greatest time ever to be alive. And it's time for us visionaries to truly step into that greatness and to, like we said, to teach people it's okay to have vision. And that could be for our employees or our kids. And it's okay to fail or fall down and get back up and reanalyze. Did that work or not? But a lot of people are afraid to even have a vision or try something or get up again after they get knocked down. So I think that, again, as we're learning to forgive and heal and believe, and you talk about the followers, whether it be our kids or our employees, are like, oh, wow, Bob failed and he got back up because he tapped back into the vision to say, does this still make sense? So again, thank you for everything that you've done and what EOS has done to the world. And again, it's just, I feel a bigger part of EOS than I ever have by supporting the visionaries and those that either work with them or live with them, because it's not always easy.
It isn't, but I'm so grateful for you. You have been a great influence in my life, a good friend of mine, and I look forward to everything you're going to do with all that
Well,
you've got ahead in 25.
Thank you very much. So my last question, and you kind of already maybe answered this, but our rally cry is Viva La Visionary. That's the name of this podcast. And it's, so if some people are like, well, what does that mean? So what does Viva La Visionary mean to you?
Yeah, so it long live the visionary, because it is only through visionaries that the world advances, that there's innovation, that there's growth, that there's problem solving beyond problem solving. It's truly what shapes the world. And so without our visionaries, things would be more static, and we just wouldn't have the life that we have today. All the visionaries that came before us, and all the visionaries today, and all the visionaries that are curating more visionaries, because that's what you're doing. You're actually part of the growth of creating more visionaries in the world through those that you touch. And so it's to just continue to perpetuate that forever. It's huge impact, eternal impact for the world, really.
Right. No, I love that. And thanks. And one of the things that I've learned, and this goes back to one of Gino and EOS's core values, is humble confident, that it's to be confident, but not be that it's all about me. So one of the things that I've learned, that it's up to me, not all about me. So that's where sometimes my ego, or, I can't fail, and it's not all about me, but it's about me being me. And it's up to me how I choose to show up. And do I choose to slow down? Do I choose to trust and whatnot? So EOS has done a lot. You've done a lot. I'm so grateful to Gino. I'm honored that he's a great friend. He saved my life in a lot of ways. I was his third client, as you know, and I just thought, I'm not meant to run a business. I'm not good at managing people. I don't want that. And he was like, dude, you do have a place in the business. And he helped me to realize, and EOS helped me to realize, that structure isn't a bad thing. I used to run from structure. And yet, if it's structure around what matters most and who matters most, there actually is more freedom, spontaneity, magic, intuition within that structure.
That's right. There's an irony to that the structure creates the freedom.
Yeah.
It seems odd, but so true. And to just let your freak flag fly, Bob, right? That what you taught us. That's right. Just for us to be authentically who we are, not to apologize for it, but actually to lean in on being who we are. And that's all we the only thing we could do is be the best versions of who we were meant to be. That's it.
Love it. Love you. Appreciate you and everything that you've done for those of us who know you, for the whole EOS community, for Visionaries. I appreciate your time and your wisdom, and I will see you soon.
Thanks, Bob. Love you too.
All right. Thank you. All right. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Viva La Visionary. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and found inspiration in our guest stories. If you loved what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and share the podcast with fellow dreamers and doers. Join us next time as we continue to explore the limitless possibilities of visionary thinking. Until then, keep dreaming big and taking action. Your vision matters.